Hi everyone, this is Kelly. Before I begin this true crime story, I need to point out that, while preparing for this case, I came across many odd things. The first was when I posted a short video about the crime, and the initial comments were in support of the convicted rather than the victims, which is very unusual. Therefore, I want to clarify that all the information presented in this video is sourced from public records, and the analyses I conducted using AI might not be entirely accurate. My deepest condolences go out to the victims' families. Lastly, please be aware that the content in this video might be intense for some viewers, so consider this a warning. One final thing, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot. Mackenzie Shirilla was the youngest daughter in a family of 4. Born on August 2nd, 2005, she was a child who seemed to have it all. Her parents, Natalie and Daven Shirilla, worked tirelessly to fulfill her every desire. Showering her was all she could ask for. From a young age, Mackenzie's calm smile and striking beauty made her a favorite among those around her. She was the girl everyone adored during her childhood, but beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect upbringing lay cracks that would one day shape a very different person. Natalie and Daven's parenting style, though well-meaning, was the kind that often leads to unintended consequences. They gave Mackenzie everything she wanted, never questioning whether their indulgence might do more harm than good. Over time, her requests became demands, and her parents, eager to keep her happy, turned those demands into their duty. What they believed to be love and care became the seeds of a growing arrogance that would alienate Mackenzie from others. By the time Mackenzie entered high school, she carried with her a chilling sense of pride. This pride, nurtured by years of unquestioning indulgence, made her a force few dared to challenge. At school, Mackenzie was the kind of girl you would rather avoid altogether. Yet, aligning yourself with her meant escaping the wrath of her sharp tongue and relentless bullying. She exuded a cold confidence, projecting a facade of strength and defiance. Her parents' leniency only fueled her recklessness, allowing her to indulge in behaviors no parent would ever condone. In the school WhatsApp group, Mackenzie quickly became one of the most bothersome presences. Her comments were often hurtful, aimed at cutting others down and asserting her dominance. She thrived on showing herself as a figure of control, someone the other students couldn't easily ignore. One morning, she initiated a group call at an absurdly early hour, disrupting everyone's routine, only to announce that she couldn't pick any outfit for the day, and they had to help her choose. It wasn't about needing their help. It was Mackenzie's way of reminding everyone that she was in charge, the one setting the tone, while the rest were expected to follow. Mackenzie even flaunted her drug use openly, posting photos that left no room for misinterpretation. Her mother, Natalie, would occasionally leave comments on these photos, as though unable or unwilling to confront the darker truth about her daughter. But was this confidence real? Or was it the mask of a girl shaped by love gone too far? Mackenzie's relationships mirrored her upbringing. She got almost everything she wanted. She dated nearly every boy in her close friend group, yet somehow she remained on good terms with all of them. These connections never ran deep. For the boys, she was a fleeting interest, the spark of something romantic that fizzled before it fully ignited. Her ex-boyfriend, Tyler, revealed an unsettling pattern. Mackenzie dated him after she had already been involved with a mutual friend, only to leave Tyler to pursue his best friend, Dominic Russo. It was as if Mackenzie moved through relationships like stepping stones, each one barely satisfying her, before she leaped to the next. But Dominic was different. He was the only one who didn't bend to her will, the one who pushed back against the spoiled foundation that shaped her personality. For Mackenzie, this resistance was intoxicating. Dominic became the one person who didn't cater to her whims, and that defiance lit a spark in her that no one else had. So who was Dominic Russo? And what was it about him that ensnared Mackenzie so deeply, setting the stage for a tragedy that would consume everyone around them? Born in 2003, Dominic was one of 8 children. Despite the challenges of raising such a large family, his parents, Christine and Frank Russo, provided a nurturing home filled with love and support. Their efforts molded Dominic into a grounded and charismatic young man. Dominic's calm demeanor and magnetic personality drew people to him. He had a way of speaking that could captivate anyone who listened, earning him a reputation as one of the neighborhood's most admired figures. But Dominic was more than just a charming presence. He was creative and ambitious, with a passion for art and design. At 19, he had already held various jobs and launched his own clothing line. Music was his next dream, one he pursued with quiet determination. When Mackenzie met Dominic, she found herself confronted by someone unlike anyone she had known. He had his own path, his own voice, and most importantly, he didn't yield to her every demand. Dominic treated her as an equal, not as someone to please. For the first time, Mackenzie faced a relationship grounded in mutual respect, or at least, that's how it seemed. Natalie and Stephen Shirilla were thrilled when Mackenzie began dating Dominic. Finally, their daughter had chosen someone who appeared to have ambition and direction, someone they believed could guide her toward a more stable life. Dominic's family, however, was less enthusiastic. They saw through Mackenzie's charm, recognizing her controlling nature and the cracks in her polished exterior. Yet, they trusted Dominic. They believed in his ability to navigate his relationships and protect himself from harm, or so they thought. Mackenzie and Dominic were two opposites, their stark differences forming the foundation of an attraction that Mackenzie couldn't resist. For her, Dominic was unlike anyone she had ever been with, and that uniqueness was intoxicating. Unwilling to lose him, Mackenzie orchestrated a way to move into Dominic's house. As always, her parents agreed without hesitation, indulging her every whim. But for Dominic's family, her presence was far from welcome. Her controlling demeanor, constant disagreements, and attempts to dominate Dominic created tension that was impossible to ignore. Over time, their relationship unraveled. It became a cycle of arguments, breakups, and reconciliations. Each return was marked by the same issues, leaving Dominic's family convinced that he deserved better. They saw her as a destructive force in his life, but Dominic, ever calm and thoughtful, wasn't ready to give up. He wanted to give Mackenzie one last chance. That changed during an explosive fight in Mackenzie's car. In a moment of anger, she threatened Dominic, telling him she would destroy the car, with both of them inside. The threat was a breaking point for Dominic. Realizing the situation had escalated beyond reason, he called his mother for help, but she wasn't available. Instead, he reached out to a friend. While on the phone, he asked Mackenzie to pull over so he could leave. Her response was chilling. She reiterated her threat, her words caught on the call. This moment would later become critical evidence in uncovering her intentions. After the fight, Dominic cut all ties. For about a week, Mackenzie was left on the outside, unable to reach him, but she wasn't ready to let go. Her attempts to reconnect turned desperate. She showed up at his house, demanding he let her in, threatening serious consequences if he didn't. Dominic, however, had started recording her threats. When he refused to respond, she shouted that she would vandalize his car. When intimidation failed, Mackenzie turned to Dominic's mother, accusing him of mistreating her and insisting she needed her belongings back. His mother, unimpressed, told her she would need to return Dominic's things first. Mackenzie's attempts to manipulate the situation fell flat, but her efforts weren't about possessions. They were about regaining control over the one person who had ever stood firm against her. Desperate, Mackenzie tried a new tactic. She cast aside her pride, reaching out to Dominic with an unusual plea. She claimed she was trying to change, that she wanted to be more mature and build a better relationship. She asked for his help with university papers, hoping to rekindle their connection. Against his better judgment, Dominic softened. Slowly, they reconciled, their relationship returning to what it had been. Within 2 weeks, they were together again. But this time, something felt different. This reunion would not be like the others. This time, it would be final. This time, it would end in tragedy. On Saturday, July 30th, Mackenzie invited Dominic to a party a friend was hosting. She saw it as the perfect opportunity to spend time together and announced to their friends that they were officially back together. Dominic agreed and decided to bring his best friend, Davion Flanagan, along. Davion, always up for a good time with Dominic, eagerly accepted the invitation. Davion Flanagan was more than just a friend to Dominic. He was his closest confidant, someone who shared the same drive and ambition. Like Dominic, Davion had big dreams and the determination to chase them, despite the challenges life had thrown his way. Davion's story was one of resilience. He was the adopted son of Scott and Jaime Flanagan, but his early life had been anything but easy. Born into a family plagued by addiction, he spent his formative years navigating the foster care system, a turbulent journey that could have crushed his spirit. Yet, when Scott and Jaime welcomed him into their home, Davion began to thrive. In no time, his strength and determination shone through. He joined the local football team and quickly became a standout player, earning recognition as one of the most admired athletes in his neighborhood. But football wasn't his only dream. Davion had a clear vision for his future. He wanted to open his own barbershop, a goal he had already begun working toward by submitting his application to Barber College. It was a dream that symbolized his hard-earned resilience, but tragically, it was a dream he would never get the chance to achieve. On that Saturday evening, Mackenzie Shirilla and Dominic Russo met up and headed to a party at a friend's house. It was a night that seemed perfectly normal to everyone there. The mood was light, with no signs of tension between the couple. Friends chatted, laughed, and drank. Mackenzie and Dominic, like others at the party, indulged in alcohol and drugs. At around 5:15 a.m., Mackenzie and Dominic decided it was time to leave. Davion Flanagan, Dominic's best friend, asked for a ride home. Mackenzie hesitated, saying they had other plans, but Dominic assured her they could drop him off together. Reluctantly, Mackenzie agreed, if only she hadn't. By 5:38 a.m., Mackenzie was behind the wheel, seatbelt secured. Dominic sat beside her in the passenger seat, with Davion in the back. The car cruised down Pearl Road, approaching the intersection of Progress and Alameda Streets. What started as an ordinary drive took a horrifying turn as Mackenzie accelerated, the car surging to 100 miles per hour on a street barely 3/4 of a mile long. In less than 30 seconds, the car veered off course and slammed into a concrete building at the Progress Drive Business Park. The sound of the crash shattered the silence of the industrial area, a place typically deserted at that hour. But one woman nearby heard the devastating noise. Stepping outside, she saw the wreckage and immediately called the police. The first responders arrived swiftly. Inside the mangled vehicle, they found Dominic Russo lifeless in the passenger seat. Davion Flanagan, seated in the back, had also succumbed to the impact. Mackenzie Shirilla, however, was still breathing. An ambulance helicopter landed, and paramedics rushed to stabilize Mackenzie. She was quickly transported to the hospital, clinging to life. The question that would haunt everyone who knew them remained: what had happened in the last 30 seconds? Mackenzie was rushed to the hospital, her body battered by multiple injuries. She slipped into a temporary coma, but when she woke up, her first words weren't of grief or confusion. Instead, she turned to the police and asked, "Are you going to revoke my license for 10 years? Her question, detached from the gravity of the situation, left those present stunned. Meanwhile, investigators at the crash site meticulously documented the scene, combing through the wreckage of Mackenzie's car. Among the scattered belongings, they found a stash of mushrooms and a digital scale. These discoveries prompted a drug test, which revealed an alarmingly high level of narcotics in Mackenzie's bloodstream. Doctors speculated that the drugs, along with the seatbelt she had been wearing, the only one in the car to do so, played a critical role in her survival. The drugs, they believed, dulled her body's reaction to the catastrophic impact. As Mackenzie lay in the hospital, the police contacted her mother to inform her of the accident. Distraught, her mother tried reaching Dominic for answers, but his phone remained silent, a grim foreshadowing of the news she was yet to fully grasp. News of the crash spread quickly, shaking the tight-knit community. 3 young lives had been caught in a horrifying accident. While many mourned, whispers of suspicion began to grow. At school, Mackenzie's name was on everyone's lips. What started as quiet speculation turned into open gossip, painting Mackenzie as more than just a survivor. Adding fuel to the fire was Mackenzie's absence from Dominic's memorial service. Her father, believing she had endured enough trauma, insisted she stay home, but her decision not to attend left Dominic's friends and classmates furious. To them, her absence spoke volumes. In the halls of the school, rumors swirled. Some students openly questioned whether the crash had been an accident at all. Mackenzie tried to counter the whispers by sharing public declarations of love and sorrow for Dominic, her social media filled with heartfelt posts about the loss of her soulmate. But the effort rang hollow to those who knew her well. For many, her words weren't enough to erase the growing shadow of doubt. The suspicion that Mackenzie might have played a role in the tragedy refused to fade. From this moment on, the community fractured into two opposing camps. On one side were those convinced that Mackenzie had orchestrated the entire incident. They believed every detail, the high speed, her survival while others perished, and the mounting whispers from classmates pointed to a carefully planned tragedy. To them, the circumstantial evidence was enough to paint her as the architect of the crash. On the other side were those who staunchly defended her, arguing that Mackenzie was the victim of a tragic accident and an unfair wave of public judgment. They insisted there was no concrete proof tying her to any malicious intent. For them, the investigation had been tainted by the noise of social media, where speculation and rumor had already branded Mackenzie guilty before the facts were fully uncovered. The debate rippled across the town, growing louder with each passing day. Friends, neighbors, and even family members found themselves taking sides, creating a rift that would linger long after the headlines had faded. But as the case unfolded, one question haunted everyone. Was Mackenzie a victim of circumstance, or the mastermind of a tragedy? To uncover the truth, we must examine all the evidence that led to Mackenzie's conviction and the arguments raised by those who believe she was innocent. The evidence against Mackenzie. The police built their case on 4 key points. First was Dominic's friend's testimony. He revealed that Mackenzie had threatened to crash the car with everyone inside during an argument. This statement planted the idea that the crash was not an accident, but a deliberate act. Second was the surveillance footage. The video showed Mackenzie walking calmly just before driving to the intersection of Progress and Alameda Streets. Her demeanor suggested someone in control, not someone acting impulsively. Third was the analysis of Mackenzie's phone. Investigators found that she had visited the crash site days before the accident. To the police, this was a sign of premeditation. Fourth, and most crucial, was the data from the car's black box, or event data recorder, EDR. The analysis proved that the brakes were not used at all in the 30 seconds leading up to the crash. But it wasn't just the physical evidence. The police also pointed to Mackenzie's behavior after the crash as deeply suspicious. Mackenzie's behavior after the accident. Months after the accident, Mackenzie attended a concert in a wheelchair. The same Mackenzie who had skipped Dominic's memorial, citing grief, now seemed fine celebrating at a concert. This choice outraged many in the community. Shortly after, Mackenzie posted TikTok videos boasting about her drug use. She claimed she could take large amounts without consequences. These posts only deepened public suspicion. Adding fuel to the fire was her Halloween costume. She dressed as a corpse bride, a move that many saw as tasteless, given the tragedy. Finally, Mackenzie's mother stirred further controversy by engaging with a Los Angeles modeling agency. She encouraged them to work with Mackenzie, which many felt was an inappropriate priority. All of this combined to increase the pressure on the police. What had once been considered a tragic accident now seemed like a planned crime. Physical evidence from the crash Mackenzie's movements were tracked via the 360 application on her phone. The data confirmed she had been near the crash site days before the incident. The EDR analysis revealed even more. It showed that no brakes were used, a fact that pointed to prior intent to increase speed. The steering wheel had also turned 140 degrees to the right just before the crash. This raised questions. Was Mackenzie trying to avoid something, or was someone else interfering with the controls? Finally, the video of Mackenzie's driving style raised doubts. Moments before the crash, she was driving calmly and signaling appropriately. Then suddenly, she accelerated to full speed. The question of investigation. Before considering the contradictory evidence, one glaring question remains. Mackenzie was arrested, charged, and convicted, but she was never directly interrogated by the police. How is it possible that such a critical figure in the case was not questioned? The police spoke to everyone remotely connected to the incident, yet Mackenzie herself was not investigated. This omission is shocking and raises doubts about the fairness of the process. On November 4th, 2022, Mackenzie Shirilla was arrested and faced a staggering 15 charges, each carrying the weight of a horrific tragedy. 4 counts of murder, 2 for each victim: Dominic Russo, 20, and Davion Flanagan, 19. 4 counts of felonious assault, again, 2 for each victim. 2 counts of aggravated vehicular homicide, 1 for each life lost in the crash. 2 counts of aggravated vehicular assault, stemming from the serious injuries caused. 1 count of drug possession, for the substances found in her possession at the scene. 1 count of possessing criminal tools, for using those tools in connection with the crime. 1 count of reckless operation of a vehicle, for the manner in which she drove, culminating in the fatal crash. In court, Mackenzie's defense fell short. It lacked the backing of external experts to challenge the prosecution's evidence. The arguments made on her behalf did little to shift the narrative, leaving the jury with the weight of the police's case and the damning evidence it presented. But outside the courtroom, the battle over Mackenzie's innocence raged on. Her supporters argued fervently that the crash was an accident, not a premeditated act. To them, Mackenzie was a victim of her own recklessness, impaired by drugs, but without any intent to harm. They dismissed the notion that she planned to kill herself or her boyfriend, insisting that while her actions were irresponsible, they were not criminally calculated. The evidence supporting Mackenzie Shirilla's innocence has been centered around 3 main arguments. Let's break these down while exploring how they stack up against the accusations. First, Mackenzie's medical condition. Mackenzie's mother claimed she suffered from POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, a condition that can cause dizziness, fatigue, and an abnormally rapid heart rate when standing. Her supporters argued that this condition might have caused Mackenzie to faint while driving. However, further investigation revealed that while POTS symptoms often occur upon standing, it is exceedingly rare for the condition to cause fainting while seated. Since Mackenzie was sitting in the car at the time of the crash, this argument does not convincingly explain the events. Second, alleged technical defect in the car. The claim that Mackenzie's 2018 Toyota Camry had a defect that caused unintended acceleration is grounded in historical precedent.
The trouble is, in Toyota vehicles like this 2009 Tacoma pickup truck, the gas pedal can get tangled up in the floor mat, causing the vehicle to speed up. Even if the driver pumps the brakes, it's not enough to stop. 5 deaths have been blamed on this unintended acceleration, and the recall was prompted by a crash outside San Diego last summer that killed 4 family members.
In 2014, Toyota settled a lawsuit for $1.8 billion related to similar defects and recalled over 8 million vehicles. Additionally, research indicates that if the gas pedal is pressed hard, it may cause the brakes to become unresponsive. I will leave the link for the study in the description. Mackenzie's supporters also pointed to an image they claim depicts the position of her foot during the crash. This image suggested that her foot was firmly on the gas pedal, but the floor mat was visibly raised, potentially obstructing the pedals. To further analyze this claim, AI-generated insights highlighted key considerations, although I didn't find any source on the internet about this photo except for the supporters' Facebook page. Foot position. The foot was in contact with the gas pedal, with no apparent contact with the brake pedal. Raised floor mat. The mat's position could have interfered with the gas pedal, potentially preventing Mackenzie from fully releasing it. Analysis. While the raised mat might explain some loss of control, the likelihood of the gas pedal being pressed intentionally remained significant. When asked for probabilities, AI analysis estimated a 60 to 70% chance that Mackenzie was pressing the gas pedal intentionally and a 30 to 40% chance that the raised mat or a mechanical malfunction contributed. Third, allegations of judicial bias. Supporters have alleged that the judges and police involved in the case had connections to the victims' families. This claim has fueled skepticism about the fairness of the trial. However, there is currently no publicly available evidence to substantiate these allegations. Without concrete proof, this remains speculation. Now, it's your turn to tell me your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Mackenzie intentionally pressed on gas pedal, or it was anything else? In court, the atmosphere was heavy with grief and tension as the defense and plaintiffs made their final arguments. Mackenzie's mother took the stand, pleading for her daughter. She attempted to take responsibility for Mackenzie's perceived lack of remorse, claiming that her actions, attending concerts, posting videos, and celebrating holidays, were misunderstood as callousness. However, the judge was unmoved. With a firm voice, he said, "All I hear is talk about your daughter. I hear nothing about the victims."
I'm hearing an awful lot about your daughter. I'm not hearing very much about the two dead people.
Dominic, okay, I'm asking you for leniency because this was a tragic accident that she does not remember. And Davion, he's a new friend. And I'm so sorry.
What does that mean? His life is worthless?
No. Okay. God, no, not at all.
Dominic's mother then addressed the court. Her voice trembled as she spoke of her son's bright future, stolen in an instant. She reminded everyone of the irreversible nature of her loss. "Even in the worst moments," she said, "the Mackenzie family will still see her, even if it's behind bars. But I will never see my son again." Davion's sister followed, her sorrow palpable. She described the void left by her brother's death, a pain so profound she couldn't imagine how to navigate life without him. Her words painted a picture of a family shattered, struggling to move forward in the face of unimaginable loss. In August 2023, after a 4-day trial, the judge reached his decision. Mackenzie Shirilla, 19 years old, was found guilty on all 15 charges brought against her. The courtroom was silent as the judge announced her sentence: 2 concurrent life sentences with the possibility of parole after 15 years. The verdict brought some closure to the families of Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan, but the lingering question of Mackenzie's intent would continue to divide the community for years to come. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime stories. See you in the next video.